right, so today I'm here with NFL legend. Some would say standout in media as well. And the perfect skin tone, perfect skin, smooth Mister. Uh, New York Giants legend Tiki Barber.
What's up, Rory? How you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Can't complain, not at all.
So we're going to dig into a few different things today, but we're going to get started with the 2023 United Airlines NYC Half Marathon, which is coming up on March 19th. Before we even get into your running of this race, let's discuss your actual running history. Now, in my experience speaking with professional athletes, especially ones that have played in the NFL, they've always had multiple sports coming up in high school, usually with
Hmm.
an emphasis on track and field or something that will keep you in shape. Um, leading up to the season. So I always like to ask either current or former players, um, do you have a history with track and field, and where did your actual love for running begin?
So you nailed it. I did a lot of different things growing up, but when I was in middle school and high school, it was wrestling and then track right before football. Other than football, obviously I played football, but track and field is where I've learned how to run. And I think I've been very lucky because I've had really good coaches who taught me fundamentals. It wasn't just about being fast, it was learn the fundamentals. And that continued when I went to college at UVA. I had this great track coach. His name was Randy Bungard. And all he cared about was stepping over and striking correctly and running on the forefront of your feet and recovery. And so I learned the fundamentals of being a runner at an early age. Now, when I became a distance runner, which is
That was the next question right
half
there.
marathons and marathons are about, that's a completely different mindset. But I think the fundamentals still apply. And so you nailed it. The reason I love running is because I grew up running and I got into it and to jump into your question or jump ahead to your question because of CC Sabathia. So about
Oh,
8 years ago, CC was putting together a marathon team for his foundation, the Pitch In Foundation. And he and his wife Amber asked me to run. I was like, yeah, of course I'll do that. I had never run distance other than, maybe, the mile, maybe the 800 in high school. But I said, yeah, I'll do that, not really realizing how hard it was going to be. And it crushed me, dude. My first one crushed me, but I'm a competitor. And I was just like, there's no way that I'm going to let that be my one and only marathon. And so I just kept doing them. And so, however many, 8 years later, I've done 15 marathons. I
wow.
do a lot of these New York Roadrunner, 5 borough events, including the United NYC Half that's coming up this weekend. And I love to be a part of their programs. And I've been one of their Team for Kids ambassadors for about 5 years. And you know the details around that, but it's been fun and it's been very fulfilling.
What did you say that number was? 15 or 18?
15 New
15.
York marathons. I've done 8 New York City marathons, but I've also traveled. So I've done Paris because it's beautiful, obviously. I did Jerusalem, which was
Wow.
punitive because there were so many hills out there. Big Sur, Chicago, Boston, the New Jersey Marathon. So I've started to use them as reasons to go places. And so I still have a couple more on my bucket list. I need to do Tokyo and I need to do Berlin and I need to do London so that I can get the world majors all finished.
So at this point, it seems like I mean, you could basically label yourself a cardio king with all that experience. I mean, they say what you put in your 3,000 hours, well, you put in your 15 races. Um, what's the difference in preparation for this marathon that you're running today versus your previous ones? Maybe, let's say your first or second when you were first getting your feet wet.
Yeah. Well, the beauty of this one is only 13.1 miles. It's a half marathon as opposed to a
Only.
full marathon, which which my body is more welcoming to. The full marathon wears me out. But it's interesting because I'm about to turn 48, and my body has just changed. When I was first starting to run marathons 8 years ago or so, I still felt young and I still felt like I could pound my, do the miles, the 40 miles a week. I really can't do that anymore. My knees won't hold up. And so the last year or so, my marathon training has changed. I put a lot more emphasis on cross training and trying to lift and be stronger, um, just so I can push through some of those tough moments that happen in any long race. The half marathon I probably won't be affected by it, but the full marathon, which I'm always kind of training for, that's when my body starts to quit around mile 18 or 19. And so I've just started to try to get a little bit stronger. Not quite like I was when I was a football player, but definitely a little bit stronger than I have been the last couple of years.
So you've referenced cross training and doing different types of things to really get your body ready for this half marathon. As far as your training regimen goes, compared to the height of your NFL career, where do you see those differences in your not mentality? Because you probably
Yeah,
approach this with the same mentality, but as far as like the rigorous training or two a days or whatever, like how
yeah.
locked in are you when it comes to
I I
running
gotta tell
versus
you, Rory,
NFL?
timing is about the same. So I'd go work out when I was, in an off season before an NFL season. I'd be in the gym for 2.5 hours, but it was intense. I mean, it was really like pounding and getting heavy weights, but also short reps and intensity to make you feel the pressure of a moment, like pulling a heavy lift. It's just like trying to get a third and one, right? So you try to simulate mentally an exertion in real time. The difference, even though the timing is about the same, I'll go on a training run for a marathon for an hour and a half or 2 hours. The difference is that I need to be calm, right? I have to pull inside of myself and be cerebral and focus on my breathing and my posture, right? Because if I don't, then that's when parts of your muscles start to get extra strain, your body starts to break down, and you're not fueling properly. So the timing is about the same, but the intensity changes for running. I really have found I got to be inside of myself as opposed to exerting, like I did when I was lifting. So there's some lessons, but they're very different exercises.
And what do you say is kind of like your flair when you're out there running? Like, are you wearing a specific model shoe? Are you listening to certain music? Like, are you a non-music
Yeah.
guy? Um,
You know
Us
it's
through like
funny.
your playlist and maybe your footwear selection.
It's fun. So I love New Balance. I've been running in New Balance for about 6 years now, and the reason is because my feet are flat. But both my feet are very flat, and so if I don't have wide shoes, they end up crunching, and I get pain in my foot, in my arch. And so New Balance has the great ones. Their fresh foams are the ones that I'm wearing now, and they've been fantastic over the last couple of years. The cushioning is just right, but not too thick, so I don't feel like I'm floating on top of the road. And I think the greatest part about finding the right shoe is that it changes your mind. My first couple marathons, I ran in bad shoes, and I felt like I couldn't walk for a month.
Yeah.
So as far as a playlist, I used to listen to hip hop because I grew up
Yeah.
in the 80s and the 90s, and
Hmm.
Biggie and Tupac and all those guys. That was my jam. But I found that I get caught in the music, and I mess up my cadence. And so I've started listening to podcasts. And so
Ah.
I like learning things.
Hmm.
And so when I go on my long runs, and I maybe I'll do that even in a race here and there, but I'll listen to a podcast. Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is our
Nice one.
everybody's personal astrophysicist,
Hmm.
he's become my latest obsession. Even though there's a new one that I started listening to called Cautionary Tales
I heard
about
about that
things that
as
can
well.
go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like listening to podcasts. So those are the two that are top of my list right now. I mean, in addition to the sports podcasts I listen to all the time, but I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's been fun.
And our last question about the marathon before we switch over to our next topic. Okay, obviously we've said it numerous times. NFL player, mentality, grit, all that stuff. When you're locked in behind center, each year you're playing, your goal is to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Is your approach the same when it comes towards running? Like, are you a guy that is focused on getting first place, or place? Do you have like a goal for that? Do you want to
Well,
smoke everybody, or is it just
it's
what?
all personal.
Yeah.
Here's the beauty of running is I go into every one of these races and I tell myself, have fun because I know I'm not winning. But, but the beauty, and this is why I've loved the running community, as individual as it is, right? I'm running for myself. I'm running for Team for Kids. I'm running, to be with my friend. It's so collective, right? It's someone supporting you or pushing you forward. Are you seeing, I don't know, for instance, someone else who's struggling and lifting them up and trying to get them, moving forward again. It's this collective event, even though it's tens of thousands of individuals, which is kind of fun. It's why I've really grown to love the running community. So yeah, I'm not. It's a different mentality than football. Football, it's win, 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 kill, 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 right? Win, like aggression. Whereas running, it's let's do this together, right? We're only competing against each other, ourselves, that is, and let's support one another. It's actually been a lot of fun.
All right, so we got two more questions before we wrap up. We want to dip into the media run, of course. Your NFL departure kind of happened right before the boom of like these alternative broadcasts.
Oh,
How
yeah.
do you view that growth from your perspective? And is that like something that you wish was around when, during
Oh,
that
definitely,
time or
definitely, definitely, Rory. So in order for me to get into the business, because I wasn't a media major, I didn't study broadcasting or communications in college. I was a computer geek. I was database design and programming, and the only way that I could get in was to take that long, hard route of getting up in the middle of the night and working at WFAN. This is while I was playing,
yeah,
doing not really internships, but not paid work on WCBS, or eventually that led to the Yes Network and to Fox News. And so by the time I retired, I was able to step right into a role on the Today Show on NBC. And it created an opening to start a new career in media. And currently now I'm on WFAN, doing my show Tiki and Tierney every day. But it started with a grind. I think now if you have the ability to talk and communicate, you can just start your own deal,
yeah,
right? And it's amazing how podcasting has exploded, and you can even stream it if you have a Twitch channel or whatever. Like there's so many ways to get your voice out there. And if you're good and you're popular and you promote it the right way with social media, which by the way also didn't exist
yeah.
when I was first coming out of the NFL, you can make something for yourself. So yeah, I definitely wish it was around because I think I would have been able to accelerate, the point to the point that I am now much quicker.
And our last question, this wouldn't be a boardroom story if we didn't focus on the business investments that you have going on. Can
Yeah.
you tell us about some of the different things in your portfolio and then also what you look for when selecting investment opportunities?
Yeah, so I'm a big opportunist, and I think the people have to be right, but then the opportunity also has to be timed correctly. And I'll give you two examples. One that was unsuccessful and one that was successful. So also right when I retired, not only did I get into media, I got into an affordable housing deal with Steve Ross of related companies, also the owner of the Miami Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
And part of his portfolio, a big part of his portfolio is affordable housing. And it made a lot of sense because he was looking to purchase a portfolio that was based out of my hometown down in Roanoke, Virginia. And I knew the director of the portfolio. His name was Hayward Fralin. He was on the board at University of Virginia, my alma mater. So it just made sense to partner with Steve Ross. And so I started to learn about all of these methods to finance these rehabs, including tax credit equities and Mitchell Lamas and things of that nature. And it was amazing because you're doing good things, right? You're creating affordable housing and neighborhoods so that people can feel proud about where they live. The problem was we did this in '08. And so
Okay.
while the person was perfect to partner with, the timing was terrible because of the market correction, as
Yeah.
they like to call it. It didn't really crash, but it was a
Yeah.
correction. So it was a great business opportunity for me, but the timing was wrong. You fast forward about 5 years later, I ended up starting a company with a friend of mine named Mark Gerson called Thusio. And Thusio is an event company that allowed
I
the
think I've heard
athlete,
about that
mostly the
before.
retired, yep, the retired athlete, but we also do a lot of current athletes to engage with their community,
Yeah.
doing events and helping brands associate with athletes, and it was that was the perfect timing, and we went right back to Steve Ross, who I had that call it a failure with. He was our seed investor, and so the relationship mattered, and it created us an opportunity to start this new business. And we exited about a year ago to Triller, and so it's been very successful. And it was something that was organic to me. It was a way to get at this entrepreneurial bend that a lot of, I think, former athletes who have done well playing, a chance to get into that business world. And I've loved it. I really have. I've We're excited for about what's coming next.
All right. Well, it looks like we're out of time. So I do want to thank you for giving me yours, and hopefully we get a top place finish in this run that you're coming up. All the,
Well,
you might
maybe
not.
I could top well in my age group. I'm too old to compete with the guys that are going to win. But just one more shout out to Team for Kids. Team for Kids has been amazing. It's been an unbelievable vehicle for kids in New York to have opportunities to run. Over the last 21 years, they've raised $100 million.
Wow.
So it's been awesome for the kids and for us as ambassadors and for runners for Team for Kids to do great things for the next generation. Anybody can go run. You just need shoes and space outside, and you can get it done. And that's what we espouse.
And a podcast in your ears.
That's right. Podcast.
Thank you so much for your time.